G'day.
I want to get wealthy. So I'm hoping that some of the diamonds you hand over today will move in that direction.
Try our best.
All right, so you know what? People insure their cars, their houses, their lives even, but they don't insure their business. Why is that blind spot so common?
Yeah, it comes down to getting the right advice. And I think we insure our business in a couple of ways. The first way is self-insurance, because we need to have a war chest.
Yeah.
There are certain events that either are too expensive to insure for or can potentially be exclusions or blind spots in your insurance policies.
What do you mean?
For example, we were just chatting with our videographer Vince here, who had a flood event a couple of years ago, and business insurances typically don't cover floods.
Right, yeah.
So some business owners have tremendous loss. So like imagine that your entire livelihood is tied up in your equipment and you don't have enough cash reserves to be able to replace those in the event of an act of God, right?
Yeah.
You up the creek without a paddle. So the unfortunate thing I see for most business owners is they don't have an adequate war chest. They don't have enough working capital in the business that provides a runway to allow them to make certain course correction decisions to save their business.
Or recover.
Correct.
In an act of God
Exactly.
situation. Yeah.
So we ideally all want, and for all of our wealthy clients, we want them to get to a point where they can completely self-insure. And they have enough liquid wealth, enough financial backing, that they have the ability to fund things that may happen, because they don't have to pay a premium anymore, right? And for the things that you can't self-insure for, then it's about understanding your risk profile and your risk exposure, and then deciding whether you are prepared to outsource that risk to an insurance company or whether you're prepared to wear that risk.
So can I take a step back?
Yeah.
There's self-insurance, I get that. Is the aim here, I have enough money that if I have to restart my business from scratch, I can do it?
Yeah, it could be that. It's usually not to that level of catastrophe. It's usually things like, well, what happens if there's a fire in my office and I need to relocate?
Yeah.
I had a client that had that situation.
Yeah, the
recently.
psychologist?
Yes.
Yeah.
What happens if we have a cyber attack and we've got a ransomware attack, that our server's been locked down or they've threatened to release our private client information? You've got to make a decision of, okay, well, what's the maximum exposure that you can afford? And so it's about understanding how much cash have you got to fund those things, and then above and beyond that, do you outsource that risk at front?
Okay, got it.
Makes sense?
Yeah.
So the next extension to that is that, are you having conversations with a good insurance broker to understand the risks and to then have that conversation of the trade-offs? Are these things that actually are high risk and that I'm prepared to pay a premium for the peace of mind? Or are these things that I'm prepared to roll the dice on?
Yeah.
And I think the biggest exposures that I see at the moment is cyber. We had a client who is an insurance broker who was telling us about one of his clients, and who was an accounting firm. They had a cyber attack. They took over all of their server and they basically locked it down, and the total cost so far has been over $2 million. So that was a big one. Luckily, they had the cyber insurance policy to cover it.
You mentioned cyber insurance within the policy.
Yes.
I have seen many business owners who ask for insurance from their broker. They say, I need this and this and this and this, and then there's no real audit of the policy when it comes back.
Sure.
And in fact, some of those policies are written in Hebrew and Spanish. And what questions do you need to ask your insurance? What level of digging do you need to do to make sure that it's going to cover the possibilities for you, do you think?
There's always going to be an element of you need to trust the profession.
Yeah.
So what I'd be looking for is, does your insurance broker actually conduct a risk profile with you? Are they discussing, like, what's your business? What are your concerns? What's your trajectory? What are your assets? What are your employees? Who are you working with? Where do they live? What is it, B2B? Is it B2C? Where's your exposure? Like, obviously, the insurance or the risks of a logistics business versus a professional service business are two fundamentally different things, right? So you want a broker who's going to have that conversation. You don't want an order taker.
Yeah, but that's what a high percentage of them are. Yeah.
So you, as the consumer, you must demand that.
Yeah.
And either make them do it or find somebody who will.
Yeah.
So I think that's the most important thing. The second thing is get them to explain what is included and what is excluded.
Yes.
Because the PDS, product disclosure statement, will have all of the inclusions and exclusions. So they should be providing you with a summary of all of those things.
Yeah.
Now, once again, this isn't perfect, but you may use AI. Use Claude to put the PDS in and say, this is my business, review it and come back to me with my exposures and things that I might need to know.
Yeah.
Once again, it's not perfect, but it'll help because I know I certainly haven't. I don't read the PDS.
I tried to once.
And it's boring, isn't it?
It's not even that it's boring.
It's so
it's sneaky.
It's very sneaky. Yeah, it's very particular.
And I must be a very sceptical person because I ended up thinking they're just trying to say nothing will ever get paid, if ever.
And in some cases, that's the reality, right? So it's about understanding the legalese of what does that actually mean in context. So I think there's that. And it's also just understanding the probabilities of those risks, right? Like you can never insure for everything.
No.
Right? So it's just about just making the most informed decisions that you possibly can.
Okay. Well, so I said life insurance before. Businesses are supposed to fund lifestyle.
Correct.
But it seems to me that a lot of people fund their business with their life. What can a business owner do to turn that around, to have the perspective that allows them to actually not just, oh yeah, I've had a business for 10 years, but this business has given me all this X amount of good things for that point in time. For that.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. A lot of people believe that business owners are doing better than what they are. And it's interesting, a lot of clients who come into our business, they say, oh my God, I see all these other business owners and they're driving this nice car and they're living this lifestyle. And I always ask, how can they afford that? Like, why can't I afford that? There's always this element of keeping up with the Joneses. And the grass is always greener on the other side. The reality of that situation is that most of those people are faking. Like, because I know that my wealthiest clients, you would never pick them. They're so understated. And they just fly completely under the radar. They're not showy. The people who are the showiest usually have the least amount to really show. So there's also an underlying belief that their business is their baby. That it's their creation. They've poured so much blood, sweat and tears into that business that it just becomes this vicious cycle of tipping more in. Business is a wealth creation. Like you have to be emotionally detached from it. I love my business, but I am not my business. So it is an element of my life. It is not my life. And for that reason, it is there for the explicit purpose of, for me, creating impact, because I'm passionate about what I do, impact in the lives of my clients and my team. But as a byproduct of that impact, that we are rewarded handsomely for the value that we create.
Yes.
So if it's not allowing me to build wealth, then something is fundamentally wrong. And business owners need to come to the realization that you need to make decisions to shift that around if that is not the case. Because you should not have a business that doesn't build wealth.
So the guy that's driving the brand new Tesla or whatever it is, but whose business numbers are not dodgy, but shit. What numbers should he be looking at? And if you say to me profit, okay, but then what's next? What do you do? What's that for? Because, revenue can be a vanity metric, but so could profit. It could be a vanity metric. And what we want to see is humans who have businesses where those businesses have grown up from those babies they had to nurture and are now feeding them.
So the big thing that we need to consider is the net wealth outside of the business.
Okay.
So the whole goal for us that I work towards with my clients is achieving what we call FIRE, financial independence, retire early.
Financial independence, retire early, FIRE. Okay.
Yes. And then got to achieve FIRE, you require 25 times your income goal.
Yep.
So the simple
Personal income?
yes.
Yes.
What you need in passive income. So simple math is if you need 100 grand a year, you've got to have $2.5 million in investment assets. That's the goal,
Yep.
right? So if it's 200 grand, it's 5 million. So you need to work out that number. How much passive income do you need? Multiply it by 25. That's the goal. Now, once we get there, then we work on fat FIRE, which is 50 times. And so that's usually the difference between financial freedom and financial abundance, where we create true generational wealth. Because usually at 50 times, you cannot spend the money. And it's going to compound and grow in perpetuity.
Right.
So there's going to be a significant generational wealth transfer that has a tremendous impact in the lives of people who inherit that wealth. So that's very important. So we put that into perspective. So then it's like, okay, cool. Well then, based on your income or your profit, what's your profit to wealth ratio? And so the goal of that is like, okay, if my profit is, say, $500,000 a year, and my personal wealth is only $500,000, then my profit to wealth ratio is 1 to 1.
Yeah.
Versus if I've got $2.5 million in wealth, and my profit is 500, right? It's 2 to 5, right? So
Yep.
it's 1 to 5. So then it's like, okay, the goal is we want that ratio to be increasing, meaning
Right.
that your wealth is significantly higher than the profit that you create.
And that's growing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like the most frustrating thing for business owners that I see, like most business owners really struggle to build wealth. Why? Is that it's like fast lane and slow lane.
Yeah.
Like business is exciting. Like there's shit that's always going on. It's chaotic. It's like there's anxiety there. It's like but it's addictive, right?
Yeah.
Because it's constantly moving.
And it's fairly fast lane.
It is.
Yeah.
Wealth is slow.
Yeah.
Proper wealth is slow. And also compounding is slow in the beginning. Right? There was an interesting analogy that we looked at. Like we buy a $500,000 property. We hold it for 15 years. And it grows at 7%. 45% of the total growth over those 15 years happens in the last 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So the thing is, it's not exciting enough for most people. And for that reason, they get impatient and they just don't do it. So the point of this is like, we want this active income, but we want passive wealth. And it's like, how do we make sure that we're taking that profit off the table and we're putting it into passive investments that doesn't take a lot of our time?
That's okay for young people. What about older people?
Well, it comes down to the levers that they can pull. So we think about the levers to get to that financial independence. First one is your current position. You can't change it. It is what it is, right?
Yeah.
Next is your income, or like the surplus that you've got available, right? So how do you increase surplus? You either increase income or you cut expenses, right? Next is your risk profile. So how much risk are you prepared to take? So if you put it all in cash, it's not going to do diddly squat. If you go punt it on crypto, it could go to bajillion or it could go to nothing, right? And then you've got time. How long are you prepared to wait? And then lastly is expectation of how much do you need, and then if you can't pull those other levers, you've got to reduce the expectation. The thing about older people is that most of them have a ridiculous time frame. Like, if you're 60, you know, and you don't have any wealth, and you go, I want to retire by 62.
Oh, yeah, but that's
Not possible.
No,
Right?
that's naive.
In saying that, for most people, they can make a significant improvement in their wealth in 10 years.
Yeah.
So, it's like, are you prepared to stick at this for 10 years? And the other interesting thing here as well, that I see a lot of older people, and it's actually not just older people. I had a guy yesterday who's 40. He's like, I want to retire by 45. I don't do what? I don't know. Never thought about it. So let's fast forward. You don't strike me as someone who's going to sit on the couch and watch daytime television. No. What are you going to do? Oh, like I'll do property development, I'll do this and that. So you're going to keep working.
See, it's not retirement.
It's not retirement.
It's vanity retirement.
Correct. So he wants to go to see his mates and go, yeah, I'm retired. No, you're not retired, right? So the point here is most people will continue to work in a greater capacity than what they think for longer than they think.
Yeah.
It may not be full-time, But like I've still got clients in their mid-70s that are consulting and doing.
They're not old yet.
Old. Right?
Sorry.
I personally will never retire.
No, I won't.
I've got no intention to retire. I couldn't think of anything worse. So it's about how do you set yourself up so you create choice. You don't have to work for money. And then you choose to work, and that allows us to keep fuel in the fire.
So this has nothing to do with this, but what's the average age of your clientele?
I'd probably say late 30s to early 40s.
Interesting. Okay. So give us the plumbing. How does money physically move in a good month in the business into wealth that's no longer at risk if the business then has a bad year, say?
Yeah. So I think that comes down to the war chest as well.
Okay.
Right? We need to make sure that we've got the working capital because let's say your business is volatile month to month.
Yeah.
What if we don't have a working capital or we don't have a reserve? It means that your allocation of that capital must change month to month.
Yes.
Which means that the allocation strategy must be manual, right? A strategy that we use with a lot of our clients is a drip feeding strategy. So let's say you've got 200 grand in working capital in the business, and that fluctuates month to month, anywhere between 300,000 or 100,000. So at worst, it's 100 grand, right? But we've set up an investment strategy that draws $5,000 a month. It's set up on direct debit.
So no matter what.
No matter what, it happens. It's now a system. So the difference between the people who implement a system and those who don't is the difference between those who build wealth and don't.
Yeah.
Because when you're busy as a business owner, you go, I should buy a property, or I should invest in the share market, I should do this. Before you know it, your time's gone and the year's finished, right?
And it's sporadic rather than consistent and nurturing and
Exactly.
All right.
So that's really the difference. And like this is the thing that we do. We implement a strategy we call the wealth mastery machine, which is all about having this investment operating system. How do we ensure that you're allocating money into investments so compounding can work its magic without you? Because if you can do it automatically, it means that you're not obsessing over it, which means that you're not allowing your emotions to dictate your decision making based on the ups and downs of the market. And it's not dictated by how much discretionary time that you've got available to think about.
And so let's say we've been doing that for 2 years. Everything's been okay.
Yes.
Not fabulous. We've got, 600,000 sitting in the war chest.
Right.
And now we have a terrible year. How do we decide to go to the war chest to fund the next year?
Well, the war chest is there explicitly for that purpose.
Okay.
But also we don't want to deplete it down to zero because like, well, how long is it going to take you to build it back up again?
Absolutely.
So the way that we've got to think about it is, well, of that 600,000, what number is now the new zero? So let's say it's 300,000, right? I cannot allow that balance to go under 300,000. So it's like, okay, what have I got to do to get the business back on track? So that
I can do within 300,000 expenditure.
Exactly. So it's adjusting, and the way we think about this, we rise to the heights of our ambitions, but we fall to the standard of our systems.
Yeah.
We don't want the standard of the system to be the bank account balance goes to zero. So we're constantly raising the bar of the system.
So would this be something you would work out with your client early in the strategy? Yes. And let's say they reach that point, would you work through it with them?
Definitely. And look, and the interesting thing is like bad years don't just happen out of nowhere.
Yeah, you can see them.
You start to see the numbers turn, and then we're starting to see the scorecard change, and we start to see certain themes that allow us to proactively implement that strategy. Now, sure, there's black swan events, things that happen that you can't foresee. But the goal is that we turn them around quickly. And so that means maybe we pause for a little bit, but we get it back on track, and then we move forwards. All right.
Sounds good. Now, most owners never get their businesses valued. Some of them don't even think of one day I will sell it.
Yeah.
They don't really even look at it as an asset. If they do, they think, when it's time, I'll get a buyer.
Yeah.
How do you turn a business from a job that you own into an asset that someone actually would pay for and pay well?
Business owners think about this a complete wrong way.
Yeah.
What I usually see is that a business owner is burnt out. They fucking hate their business and they want to sell it.
Yeah.
No one wants to buy your bullshit, man.
No.
Your business is fucked.
Yeah.
And so why would anybody want to buy it? So the flip side to that is the most valuable business is the business that you don't want to sell,
Yeah.
because that is value, right? Like somebody buying your business will pay a premium if it's under management, it's immensely profitable, it's low risk. So we've got to think about, okay, you might hate your business right now. We need to turn that around. And once we turn it around, we need to implement the systems that will enable us to maximize the value of the business. So generally speaking, most service businesses sell between 2 and 3 times profit. If your business does 500 grand a year profit, it's worth between 1 and 1.5.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the further you grow your business, the higher the multiple you usually build. So where we start going to say a 3 to a 5 times valuation multiple is where we start getting to a profit of about $2 million to $5 million.
Yep.
So usually that means you've got to be building about an 8-figure business. Why? Because you've got economy of scale, then there's a bigger market. There's a more institutional market who wants to buy those kinds of businesses. And because they're professional investors, there's more that they can do with that kind of business. So usually what they're doing is like a roll-up strategy.
Yeah.
They'll buy one big platform business and then they'll go and roll in other smaller businesses and then use economy of scale to then build this thing up to a much bigger beast. So that's really where the real money is. Because when we think about it, you've got a business that does say 500 grand a year in profit. You sell it for 2 times, you get $1 million. You're probably going to pay at least 250 grand, 300 grand in tax. So you got 750 grand. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Like, you go and
Probably
invest
go and buy another business.
Exactly. And this is the thing that people don't realise. Sell your business, then what?
Yeah.
And the biggest regret that I see for people who sold their business, and like I've worked with clients who sold their business for $100 million, that you've got this big lump sum of cash, cool, but you've now stopped your cash flow machine. And you've now taken that to 0. And whatever you go and do, you've got to go build that back up. And compounding works best with bigger numbers. So like even if we're in a small business land, 2 times profit, that's 2 years that you've just been advanced. Is it going to take you more than 2 years to build up an equivalent business again? Probably. Sure, you've learned lessons and there's going to be shortcuts. But like, startup business sucks.
Yeah.
Who wants to fucking do that? So the thing that I do with my clients is we look at building the business to having a value. But the ultimate goal is to get the business to a point where they fall back in love with it because the business is no longer dependent on them and they actually don't want to sell it.
Yeah.
That process takes minimum 12 months, ideally 3 years.
Yeah.
And what do? So we firstly work on...
Sounds like saving a marriage.
Not too dissimilar. So we firstly work on setting the target price.
Yeah.
What do you want to sell the business for? Then that allows us to reverse engineer it into what's the profit target need to be. And then we work out what do we need to do to maximize profit, to get consistency of cash flow, and to then reduce key personal risk. And if we can achieve those 3 things, then we can build a business that's worth selling.
So what I'm hearing is they hate their business because it's not a business. It's a job without support.
Yes.
And it's problems and pain in the ass and whatever. So you turn them from job owners to business owners, actual business owners. And now they have something they could sell because who wants to buy a job? Well, some people will, but, you know, the people who will buy a job probably don't have a lot of money.
No.
And then they can decide, okay, actually, I like this particular cash flow and it runs pretty much without me. I'm just going to go play, or I'm going to sell it and go into this other play thing, and hopefully by then they know what to buy now because they've just been through the process of designing it. Yeah.
And here's the kicker. What we often see is that we then teach these clients how to do acquisition as a growth strategy.
Yes.
So they keep their existing business.
And they buy another one as
They
well.
can buy others that they can integrate in.
Yeah.
And so then that allows them to continue to grow and compound.
Yeah.
And it's a phenomenal way to build wealth. So we've done this ourselves. This is how I've built a lot of my wealth, is through business acquisitions. And the thing I love about it is that because you're actively involved, you can control the outcome.
Yeah.
So it works really well.
Sounds good. All right. So you've watched good business owners who work properly and build systems and make money and keep it.
Yes.
But you've also seen the ones who do good business and make money and even sometimes a lot more money, and then at the end of the 5 years or whatever, they're broke again.
Yeah.
Yeah? What's the single difference? What's the habit that they can put in so that they don't end up in the second box?
Yeah. This breaks my heart because I've seen it so many times. There's a couple of scenarios that play out. One is being exclusively emotionally driven in their decision making.
Yes.
So they just make reckless decisions. And it usually comes down to an issue of identity. They have an identity, usually a trauma from childhood, that is unresolved, that's playing out in their business. And it comes down to this idea: the situations you learn to survive, your survival ultimately depends upon.
Yes.
So they go from a battle situation of being tremendous amounts of debt, tremendous amounts of hardship, team leaves, people are stealing money from the business, all of these kinds of things. They work their way out, they get themselves back to a really good position, and they get themselves straight back into a similar position again. And the cycle repeats. Now, I understand the issues, but we don't solve those issues. We refer them out to mindset coaches and people who can help them solve those identity issues. Because until they solve that, there's no amount of strategy we can throw at that situation that's going to solve.
Yeah, they'll just keep doing that.
Keep doing the vicious cycle.
Yeah.
Right? There is another element of that is a tremendous value for ego.
Oh, okay.
We also don't work with these kinds of people. In fact, I fired a client yesterday who slipped through the cracks, and just alarm bells. These are typically highly dominant alpha personalities that similarly have childhood trauma, something that's happened, but their entire value of the world is more. They have this insatiable appetite for more. And usually that results in either them being immensely wealthy or going broke. Like they are just gamblers. They have no regard for asymmetrical risk versus return. They're not calculated, they are reckless. And so there's some of them that get really lucky. But it's constantly like putting everything on black and just seeing how the wheel spins. And I just don't want to work with those kinds of people. So there's that. And the other part is just driven by fear. Like people who just sit on the fence and do nothing. And so you pay the biggest price for certainty.
Yeah.
Like I've had people who we've worked with that have just been waiting. There's always an excuse. Like the market's going to crash. Like where the property market's going to come back or the share market's going to crash and then I'm going to get in. And they never do.
Yeah.
Right. So the interesting thing is all of these things revolve around an identity crisis. Right. And it's just that money and their relationship with money and the results that they experience in money are just manifestations of that identity.
So what habit could somebody build that would bypass this result?
Well, it's building the systems, right? Like the systems that we help our clients build through the Wealth Mastery Machine is about protecting themselves from themselves.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who you are and your strengths and your weaknesses. If you have great, tried and tested wealth building systems that are pragmatic and neutral and free of bias,
Then they'll work anyway,
they will work.
as long as you don't interfere.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it's usually outliers that they will always interfere.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? That they just can't allow the systems to run. And so it's the people that are, like everyone's quirky in their own particular way, even I am. Okay? And I built these systems specifically because I'm neurodivergent and I'm wired in a way that I struggle to defer gratification. If I don't have these systems, I would have never built wealth. So they work as long as you're not a complete and utter lunatic.
So you're not a complete and utter lunatic.
I'm certain. Argue.
Okay. All right. What is it that people put off because it's boring and it costs the most over, say, a 10-year period?
Interesting. Estate planning is a big one. The amount of our clients who just refuse to come to terms with their inevitable death and demise.
Serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
They just don't want to think about it.
I'm surprised.
And they really don't think about the implications of what happens if they don't have their estate plan in place. Particularly if they've got a blended family.
Yeah.
It's just an absolute nightmare. Like, we had a client who came to us many years ago, and he had a blended family, really messy situation with his past family, really happy with his current family, new kids and whatnot. Never updated the will. Now,
So the new kids weren't. Wow.
So, reality was he passed away. And his family and his past family are eligible beneficiaries. They're entitled to make a claim. If he would have written a will,
There was no will at all.
well, he had a will, but it predated. So wills are made void when you remarry.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So the issue was that if he would have written a will, and we see this issue of mistakes that people make, you can't write people out of the will. Like, if they're eligible beneficiaries, they can make a family provisional claim. So you need to make a certain entitlement.
Yeah.
It might even be $10,000. And then you explain, like, my child is estranged, I haven't spoken to them for this many years, however, I'm providing them with a $10,000 cash payment as a token of my appreciation, whatever, right? He had nothing. So there was actually an equal split of the estate. Now, I don't argue that were they entitled to it? Certainly. Is there any issue with that? No. But if that wasn't his wishes, he should have put it in writing.
Yeah.
So there's just situations like this that people just go, let them deal with it.
Yeah, they do, don't they?
So that's a big one.
Yeah. Okay.
The other one is insurance. And look, I have always had a huge value placed on insurance because I've had family situations that are very close to me that if there would have been appropriate insurance in place would have fundamentally changed the situation. So for that reason, I've always taken it very personally. Most people hate insurance. They insure their car, they insure their house, but they don't really think about the implications if they pass away, if they're totally and permanently disabled, if they have a critical illness, if they lose their ability to earn an income. And we had a client recently, luckily they were insured, that had a significant malignant cancer and brain cancer. In her 40s, young family. Other than that, but clear bill of health, never had any issues. No inklings or signs of issues. And we just arranged for a multi-million-dollar total and permanent disability payout. We hope that she's going to come good, but like, if it wasn't for that insurance, the position that would have put them in. The affluent business owners had a successful business, they had to sell the business, they didn't get a lot of money for it. But like, the insurance provided them with options, with flexibility, with freedom, the option to choose.
Yeah.
So they can, whatever happens, God forbid nothing bad happens, but at least they can say, hey,
Well, something bad's already happened.
for sure, but she's still here.
Yeah.
So they can say, we've got the financial means that we can enjoy the time that we've got as a family and not have the financial burden to have to worry about
And
making it
every opportunity with
correct.
the people that
count, right?
Yeah.
So it's things like that just because people haven't necessarily experienced those situations, they take it for granted. So those are the big ones.
Yep. Okay. Personal wealth. How can you protect it so that if your business has a bad year or a bad few years or whatever, it doesn't take you down with it? How can you separate out your wealth and your business as well?
So the first thing to be mindful of, if you run through a company, it's a proprietary limited company. So it typically means that you have a shield for personal liability.
Yeah. Except for tax.
Except for tax. But even in saying that, as long as you don't have a director's penalty notice, that doesn't become a personal liability.
Okay,
So you can liquidate the company and in many cases walk away from all of the debts. The caveat to that is that if you're also a director, you can carry director's liability.
Yeah.
So, for example, if you're running a business that's insolvent and you know it's insolvent, you're personally liable, right? So there's things like that. And it also doesn't stop that if you are somebody you're the business owner, you're dealing with the public, and then somebody sues you, then they can attack you. So what we consider usually is in a couple, there is a risk person and there's an asset person.
Yeah.
So the risk person runs the business. They're the director of the business, and usually they have the shares that are owned by a family trust, and the trustee of that is the asset person. So the asset person is the person who owns all of the assets. Typically, we want the family home in the asset person's name. They control the family trust. They control all of the wealth. Meaning that if the risk person gets sued because they've got the highest risk, they don't really own anything. So that's the typical structure. Now, it's not perfect because there's also kind of an argument of like, well, okay, I want in the situation where sometimes husband and wife are both working in the business, right? So who's got more risk than the other? There's a factor there. Also, like, who's to say that that person isn't going to have other risks? So there's always a trade-off.
Yeah.
But it's about what can we do to the best of our ability to protect ourselves.
Okay. Can you walk us through one owner who had all their money in the business and they got out of it safely? What did the first 12 months of that actually look like?
This is an interesting one. So I had a client of mine who sold his business for $100 million.
Oh, good. I wanted to hear about that.
This guy is just a firecracker, just born entrepreneur.
Yep.
Like just Midas touch. But with that, pretty reckless.
Yeah.
Had gone pretty much most of his entrepreneurial career spending all of his money, blowing all of his money and stuff. Because he just knew that he
could just make anything.
He knew.
Yeah.
He just had this magical touch. He sold the business, and the issue is for these types of people, and I identify as one of these kinds of people that has this chaotic energy, is that you need to channel that energy somewhere, otherwise you do stupid shit.
Destructive shit.
You really do. And so he'd gone on to buy multiple mansions and Ferraris and Aston Martins and fly private and all these things. Now look, he's still wealthy, but hasn't been able to build the wealth that I suspect that he would have made if he kept at it, right?
Yeah.
So it just goes to show there are certain people out there who have an innate ability for creating value. But just because you have the ability to create value doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be wealthy. Like, these are fundamentally different skills. And I think the other part to this is about understanding your weaknesses. I'm acutely aware of my weaknesses, which is the reason why I would never retire. I would never sell my business because I'm very confident that I would be so bored, I would do the stupidest shit and I would blow all of my money. And it would be the dumbest thing that I could ever do.
So if I see you riding Aureus down the road, I should think, oh, God, he might have sold his business.
I think so.
Because that would be stupid shit, wouldn't
Exactly.
it? Yeah, okay, great.
So
Sorry.
my point is that you need to know yourself. You need to develop the skills of active income.
Yep.
How do you master the skill of producing active income? And you need to master the skill of wealth and asset allocation.
Yes.
And until you master those three skills, you're probably not going to be wealthy.
Yep. All right. Look, I think we've really looked at wealth from lots of different sides now. And the big thing that I'm getting is slow and steady wins the race. But slow and steady starts with the first step. So if I came to you and I said, all right, I've got 90 days, what steps can I take down the path to being financially free? What would the next 90 days look like? Not for me specifically, but for some.
So first thing is taking stock of where you're at.
Yep.
So we go through a fact-finding exercise where we understand income, expenses, assets, liabilities, both personally and in the business. What's our starting point? We can't change it, but we need to take stock.
Yes.
Next is we need to get clear on our goals and aspirations. So we create a roadmap of all of your goals, dreams and aspirations over 1, 5, 10, 15, 20 years, both lifestyle and financial. And what we then do is we convert that into a strategic plan.
Yep.
Which is, based on where you're at right now, what's your trajectory? Where are you going to end up? And does that get you to your goals?
Yep.
And if it doesn't, what's the shortfall,
Yep.
and what decisions need to be made to correct that shortfall.
Yep.
And that forms the basis of the plan.
Yep.
We say, cool, if you want to achieve all of these goals, this is exactly what needs to happen. This is what levers you've got to pull to get there. And then the first part of that is usually cash flow control.
Yeah.
Because you can only build wealth with surplus. So usually that exercise is like, Tash, you need to earn this amount of money in order for you to live your lifestyle without compromise and have this much surplus that we can use to get you on track for your goals.
Yep.
And then once we get that, then it's about how do we actually hit the milestones of the plan. So we actually break our client strategy into 90-day milestones. So by 90 days' time, we'll say, hey, this is exactly where we should be to be on track for this plan. Are we there or are we not?
Yeah.
And then we discuss, do we need to course correct or what we need to do?
Yeah. Sounds great. All right. Well, everyone should just sign up.
That's it.
Go to your website and sign up. Eh?
That's it. That's
Yeah.
what it's all about.
All right, cool. Thank you very much. All right.